Hey, everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Conflict Radio. I want to give a shout out. I guess you're really loud all of a sudden.
Me?
Yeah,
Want me to turn her down?
no, let me turn you. We can turn you down. You just keep doing what you're doing. I'll turn you down a little bit. How's that?
That's fine with me.
All
How's it
right,
sound?
sounds sounds good now. All right, everybody, greetings. Welcome to Conflict. Today is February 24th, 2022, and I want to give a shout out to everybody I see in the chat room. Let's see. Let me hit that banner there, and then I'll go over and we'll see how everybody's doing. I see Blue Chicken's here. Thanks, Blue. Welcome to the show. Laura Elizabeth is here. She says she's here for Cisco. Awesome. Mered Hesketh, Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal Podcast. Hi, Cisco. Distorted Realities here. Luke Briers. Let's see who else is here. Dr. Strangelove is in the house. Stuff and stuff says let's go. Oracles and beyond.
They're saying I'm too loud. How am I now?
All right. Oracles.
Distorted? How does that sound? I'm sorry.
That's all right. AJK is here. Truck Bam. Donnie Cho. James Smith. Bumblebee. Welcome to the show, Bumblebee. David Gosling. Hey, how you doing, man, David? Good to see you here. Let's see. Umua 42. Mua 42 is here. I'm a Mua. Renee
Better you than me.
Corn Pop's Ghost is here. That's sad. Distorted Reality. Stefan Gaja Ugadarn. I see David Jones Locker. And let's scroll down and see if anybody's checking in at the bottom of the chat here. Looks like we've got everybody. All right. So welcome to Conflict Radio. Today we have Sysco Murdoch on the show. Now, we are all children in the wilderness of the afterlife. A guided tour through a haunted life is a book written by both her and Steve Stockton. These stories happen. Ghosts and things that go bump in the night are out there. Sysco Murdoch has always been multifaceted in her approach to life. A bartender, a floral designer, wire sculptor, jewelry designer, craftologist, business owner, soldier, empath, sensitive, and producer, host of Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal Podcast. The link is in the description box below. Go subscribe if you haven't. None of this taking precedence over being a mom of two sons. These paths have led her through and to multiple experiences with the paranormal, supernatural, and the uncanny. She resides near the Jersey Shore with her dear family, several fur babies, and at least one ghost. Sysco, how you doing today?
Well, good night, everybody. I'm doing great, baby. How you doing?
I'm all right. You know, everybody's kind of curious. Wow, that's a lot of count, James Smith says. And I see everybody here. And let me, I guess what we should first discuss is something that we've never talked about before.
Okay.
You, and let's just throw it out there, you are not just a regular guest on the show. You are my aunt, my mother's sister.
I am indeed. And I can prove it with a DNA test.
It's true.
And I also saved your life one day. It wouldn't even be a conflict if I wasn't for my swiftness and my quick thinking on my feet at 12 years old.
My mother was, just so everybody knows, Ronald Lee Murdoch, and we'll leave it at that. So,
yeah, God bless you, darling. She's here. She's here. She's here in all this. So, you know. We send us her love, our love to her. That's for sure. But I would like to, if you would allow me, just for a second, to say hello to all these beautiful gatekeepers in here tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for coming in the chat, especially to all my gatekeepers jumping into a new town. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in, and I love each and every one of you. This is my wonderful chat. And if you come over and subscribe, we do a Sunday night and a Monday night show. We try to do a little bit more research show on Sunday, a guest, something along those lines, or research. Like last Sunday we did Operation Paperclip. We're neck deep in Nazis, and you don't think that would be fun, but the best part about it was uncovering the lies and bringing the lies to truth. And I think that's what we're always trying to do in these shows, just trying to bring theory and thought and stories, and trying to work them out and figure them out together. So hello, gatekeepers. I love you all.
Yeah, and Chuck Bam saying the link for the Paranormal Portal podcast YouTube channel is down in the description box below. It is a family affair, and Conflict Radio is related by blood to the Paranormal Portal podcast. So if you love Conflict Radio, go do me a favor and get over there and subscribe to my aunt's channel and listen to what she has to say sometimes because I sure do all the time. Trust me, and I've been listening to her since the day I was born,
Yep.
really. So you mentioned something, and I guess everybody's going to be curious. You have to tell the story.
All right. So basically, there was an old-fashioned thing when kids are teething. And there, a lot of the old, they call them old wives, methods and things like that. But basically, a lot of them work. It's just a little tougher because we're not as hands-on as we used to be. So when I think people did that, did certain things back in the day, they were right there. They weren't, running over here to do laundry and catching the phone and doing this other stuff. So at no fault of anybody's, you were. Still breaking some really painful back teeth. And your mom was trying everything she could think of and getting advice from everybody. And one of them was to boil. Believe it or not, we used to have old wooden clothespins. Now, these were the clothespins not with the spring in it, but the kind that looked like a little person, where it just had the split and you could just stick it right over the clothes and the clothesline and it would hold. But they were wood, and you could boil a clothespin in sugar water. It sounds insane to say it like this, but this is what happened. And the child could chew on this wooden clothespin. It doesn't make any sense, does it? It sounds insane. But anyway, that's what was going on. And you and your sister.
And let's just keep. These are the old school clothespins with like
Yes.
that were kind of like a. It wasn't the kind that you open and close that had the little spring in them. It was just a one-piece clothespin, right? Like I don't know if
one piece. Yeah.
If anybody remembers. I'll bring it up while you tell the story, but.
AJK has got it right. It's those little toy soldiers that you could make, like Christmas ornaments and stuff out of. They'd look like that, or you could paint them and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, you were chewing on one of those, and I think I want to say that I don't know if you grabbed it out or you came around the corner with it in your mouth or something. I was sitting on the couch and I was watching you. I'm like, that's not good, because you were running. And you had that in your mouth, and then your sister was chasing you, and all of a sudden you went ass over teacups and just landed, and your face hit the hardwood floor, and that clothespin jammed right up in the roof of your mouth, and it was just gushing blood. Yep.
Yeah, these are the ones on the right here, guys.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that, not the clip ones like you see on the left in the little pictures, but these big ones in the right. So
right.
Kind of get.
And that round part, it wasn't even the pointy part, it was the round part that went up into the roof of your mouth and the back of your mouth, and just cut a gash like crazy. And I just picked you up, pulled the clothespin out of your mouth. Everybody started screaming. Your sister was screaming, your mom was screaming. I'm like, we ain't got time for this shit. And I just grabbed you and I kept you face down as I ran you down the stairs and out into the car, and I just started screaming, I need a car to the hospital now. I wasn't waiting for anything, and we got a ride there, and I just kept you kind of down and kept patting your back so you wouldn't choke. You kept telling you to spit it out, because I was afraid you were going to choke on your own blood. And I kept your airways open till we got you to the doctor.
Yeah, so. And I guess AJK says, ouch, Conflict, do you still have a scar? If I do, it's the roof of my mouth.
Yeah, can't see it.
The clothespin went through the roof of my mouth.
Yep.
So everybody there, I do sound pretty good for somebody who had a clothespin that went through the roof of their mouth because it fell while chewing it. And I guess that's all, and thanks to you.
Well, it's just quick thinking. Anybody would have done it, but it's just one of those things that you don't have time to stand around and scream and cry and worry, and you just handle it, and I think in a lot of ways that's just the way, you survive these days, is you just take what's coming and, face it straight on, you know what I mean, as best you can, and What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, so they say.
Yeah, I suppose so. I don't remember any of this, but let's get through this. I want to talk to you
Hmm.
about my mother, your sister,
Right.
today because the picture that I have up is the closest picture that I could find to what my old house looked like as a kid growing up. I had 7 columns, and the columns were throughout the entire front of the building. But other than the lack of columns, this is exactly what my house looked like. I mean, pretty much exactly it, except the columns were along the entire front of the house. This is in Sussex County, New Jersey, on 519 in Wantage. If anybody knows that house, and I'll tell you, it's a pretty creepy house. We moved into it when I was 4 years old. My mother was excited. We found this house. It was sitting. It was brand new. Nobody, and when I don't mean brand new, but nobody had lived there. But the house had sat there for 4 years, empty, because
Mm.
nobody wanted to buy it. The price
Mm.
kept going down. The price kept going down, and nobody wanted to buy it because when the builder was building the house, the builder's wife committed suicide in the garage.
Mm.
So it was kind of a haunted house when we bought it. So the price was going down. The price was going down. My parents could afford it. They were excited. It was a beautiful house, obviously, and there it was, and we got it. We moved in there, and the thing is that my mother also committed suicide. I guess about 6 years after we had moved in.
Yep.
And then when my stepfather sold the house, the people that bought it, uh, their that guy's wife also died
Yep.
from crazy circumstances. Nobody's really sure what happened, but it seems to be a wife taker.
Yep.
Now, I wanted to talk to you. I mean, you're my aunt. You know who I'm talking about. This is your sister.
Hmm.
I am her son.
Hmm.
What is going on? And did we get involved in something when we bought this house that we probably shouldn't?
Yeah. Yes. And I can tell you right now, that place, I was there twice, and the place was ominous. I mean, you could just feel it. Like, it was like walking in there, it almost took, I can remember, it was like, if you ever had a dream where you're walking underwater and you just feel like it's harder to pick up your leg and take that step. It's an effort. And I really didn't understand back then. I mean, I don't understand. It's 50, like I said, I've been in this 50 years. Literally in this 50 years. I've had experiences all my life, but I can remember at a very young age trying to get answers. So, you're going, you're looking for books, and you're asking adults, I'm seeing these things. Well, then you start finding out you can't talk to too many people because they think you're crazy, or they don't take you serious because you're a kid. So I'm still coming into, when you moved into that house, I was in my early teens. I was still coming into understanding abilities and things like that. I mean, it's so hard when you have zero guidance and you're just searching everywhere for answers. Not all of them are going to be correct or work for you. So I can't really tell you so much personal perspective of that house other than that much. It just felt ominous to me and heavy, but I have no idea, especially at the time, to tell you exactly where that was coming from. You know what I'm saying? But now looking back in hindsight, it's always 2020. You could, if it was a perfect stranger coming up to and telling me what you just told me about the house's history, I would say it absolutely had something that could work on somebody who already had the makings to begin with of some kind of tragedy like that, whether it be addiction or depression or, so many things that can weaken your protective, let's just say aura, for the lack of another word right now. Okay, everybody's got that light that comes from them. Everybody's got that spark, that divine spark. Okay. Whether and it's funny because Killer Angels was actually written about that. The famous, now it was a famous movie called Gettysburg, but the actual book by Michael and Jeff Shara was called Killer Angels, and it all had to do with that divine spark, how some people dim their light so much that they're barely connected anymore to their source, your light, and I think that house, like many other places, had that energy to weaken somebody who already had a couple of cracks to begin with. And what I mean by that is, by the time your mom moved in, that was her second marriage. She was a fantastic mother, cared so much about her children. I think it's very possible that not just life itself, but that house had a way of magnifying those feelings and those doubts, and that outside, almost like to some people the outside world is almost crushing. In some ways, I think a lot of people in the chat can really understand what I mean by that, because everybody's been through so much the past couple of years, and even today, that it seems like the outside world gets very heavy, and we all have different ways that we keep that off of us. And some people, just out of just being sheer exhaustion, just doesn't have that ability anymore to keep the outside world off of them. And a house like that, with that kind of energy, has its ways, and it has nothing but time, if you know what I mean. And it just, there are places like that. Absolutely. To answer your question.
Now there have always been a strong Indian presence in that area.
Mm-hmm.
This is in Sussex, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It actually Wantage. It's in Sussex County, but it's Wantage, New Jersey. It's a high, and people said that the house, when it was bought, was it was an Indian burial ground.
Well, there you go.
What do you?
There you go. I mean, this is it. The thing is anytime we've all heard it. How many times have we seen the movie where, Poltergeist? You just moved the gravestones. I can't tell you how many times that's happened. Where somebody puts in a road. How many of you guys have gone down the road and the road cuts right in between the graveyard? And you tell yourself, oh, they must have moved all the graves when they put the road in here. Really? That's what we tell ourselves because, well, it's done. There's nothing I can do about it. But there was somebody who made that decision. There was somebody who signed a contract, somebody who, picked, how it was going to go down and made a conscious decision to say, just move the gravestones. They'll never know. Well, I'll tell you something. There's consequences and comeuppance to that, because that's a disrespect. Just like it is, being Native American myself, I can tell you that for some reason, like archaeologists and stuff like that will say, well, we got to learn about the culture and everything else. So let's start digging up graves. Well, where is it okay? You go back 20 years, is it okay? 100, 200, 1,000? When is it okay to dig somebody's body up and move the bones and start playing around with them like, they're clothespins, or whatever?
All right.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I brought up on the screen now. This is where my house is. This right here is if anybody can see this. This doesn't look very steep for some reason. This doesn't do it justice. This is a volcano that was across the street from my house in Wantage, New Jersey, right here. And I used to sleigh ride down this when I was years old, which was again awesome. Let me tell you, this was my neighbor here. And if I come down the road here, my house will be, well, not my house, but the one I grew up on is right here on the left. You can barely see it through. It had a little pond in the front yard. You could barely see it here. I dug the holes for all of these trees. If you see these trees, when we bought the house, it was a house that was sitting, and this was probably when I was 4 or 5 years old. So back in 82. 81, something like that. Maybe in 1980. This is the house here. I used to cut this grass here with a lawn tractor when I was a kid. and I'm trying to, but you cannot.
You
You
can't
cannot.
get to it. Yeah.
You cannot see it.
It's
It's
hiding its ugly
totally,
ways.
totally barred from the road. I'm trying
Right.
to get in there, but you can't.
Yeah.
You can't even see it. This is
You don't need to see it. I mean, this is the thing. You just kind of put that stuff in, the past, and we've taken care of everything we could take care of. I mean, we can't go back and fix it. If I had been there, it would have been a little bit different. I was in the army when all this was going down, so I was gone.
yeah.
But
I used to
high
fish
creepy
for.
unsolved. Hey, no, the house is not. Somebody in the chat, I'm sorry I didn't see the name, was asking if the house is still in the family. No, it isn't. That's gone. So yeah, so basically, this thing whole started because a couple weeks ago you called me and you were asking me about. You were wondering if your mom was perhaps trapped in that house. I mean, if we're going to talk about this, we're gonna pull all
Yeah,
the stuff
yeah.
off. I 100%
And,
no.
and I'll tell
No.
the story
Yeah,
if you want
go
me to.
ahead.
I
Yeah.
I've been hearing my mother's calling me a lot lately, and I've been hearing my name the way she would say it, and I haven't heard that in a long time. Like
Mm.
my name is Michael, Mike, whatever. She would call if she was mad at me, it was Michael, Michael, Mike.
I remember.
If she wasn't mad at me, it was Mike,
Hmm.
Mike, like that. And I've been hearing that
Hmm.
constantly all the time. And I've been having dreams where I'm in this house. I am actually in this house trying to find my mother. And just so everybody knows, this right here, this window right here, is where I grew up as a kid. This was my room right here. This was the front door, this rock wall in front of the house. I carried every single rock from the back of the house to the front. And I'll tell you, I had a stepdad that was, if I ever did something wrong, I had to dig a hole for a tree or carry rocks. And you see all the
Looks like
trees,
you was a bad boy, man.
and you see all the trees, and you see all of the rocks. In
Yeah.
fact, I used to have to take the trash out. I mean, I guess as far as growing up was concerned, and you've met my stepfather, I was like the slave boy
Hmm.
in the house. Whatever needed to be done was done because if I didn't do it, I would get my ass kicked pretty much.
Yeah, he was an
This
asshole.
was this was my so I carried all these rocks, I dug all these holes, I carried the trash all down this driveway every week.
Mm.
There's there were a bunch more trees out in the front yard here that you can't see right now. But this was my life, and the this was it. This was my
Yeah.
life.
But she's
And
not there, man. She's not there. I can
see,
tell you
now,
that for sure.
I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that
Yep.
there and put up back up the picture here.
Yep.
We had when my mother died and we were in that house, I took a picture and there was a fireplace on the first floor, kind of on the left side, and it was a great room, like a family room, and it had these big uh, beams, wooden beams down the ceiling of the house. And what happened was is that I took a picture of her, of my mother, and I thumbtacked it between the brick of the fireplace and um the wood beam. Literally less than an inch of space
Hmm.
between the brick and the wood beam. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
a human adult could not get their hand in that space. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Like it was a tight fit for me to get my space in there. And for some reason, uh, whenever I was uh, having these dreams where I'm in the house, I'm for some reason I feel like if I remove the picture, I can free her soul from the house. Does that
Right.
even make sense?
Yes, it does. And I'll tell you why. Here's a couple things. Now, again, I'm going to state this absolute fact. I am no expert. I've only been studying this for 50 years. And I say that way because I've put in time. I've put in trying to understand from multiple levels because it's such a vast subject. And nobody's got the rule book. So it's really all theory and conjecture at this point, and hypothesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you told me about that, I had to go on, I had to click out of amp mode and click into, basically thinking I'm just speaking to somebody. I don't know any of your past. I don't know anything else. And I listened that way, tried to. And what it sounds like to me is basically she's not stuck there. You are. And I don't mean that in a bad way. That's a natural thing for any young child growing up that had memories, especially a memory in a house the last time they were with their mother. And a piece of us stays there. There's a saying that when someone you love passes, they take a piece of your soul with them and you keep a part of theirs. And that's why it hurts so bad, because a part of you is gone. But as long as you know that a part of them is within you as well, you take them with you. So neither one of you is stuck anywhere you don't want to be. And this is a perfect way to understand what ghosts go through in their mindset, in the cages, in the, like you put here, trapped spirits. Why are they trapped? Who's trapping them? And there are some that are trapped by outside influences, but such as curses or maybe another entity that's stronger in energy than they are. But in most cases, honey, it's what our minds do to us, our perception, our thoughts, the consciousness that we're in at the time. And a child going through what you went through at that time, of course you left a piece of yourself there, but you took a bigger piece away. And you also took that piece of her with you. So neither one of you are trapped there. I can tell you that from my experience on this side, because I couldn't be there on the earth where she was. But when all this was going on, people I know and myself all helped her get across. She had a hard time because she was leaving 4 kids. And it's hard for anybody to do that. And it took her a while. And it took her a while to get up the strength. And my theory and my thought and my whole mind of 50 years is going to tell you that the reason you're hearing her voice now is because it took that long for her to get that energy to be able to propel that sound. She's letting you know where you are now. You can hear her, and you're probably the only one out of all 4 at this point, because your consciousness is raised. So you guys are almost meeting up vibrationally. Does that make sense to you? On a frequency, you guys are meeting on that frequency. She's coming up, and you're not coming down. She's coming up to meet you. You see what I mean? In frequency. And that's why you can hear her now. And that good energy that you're sending her, that helps. Anybody that's lost anybody, nobody can tell you how to grieve, but through my life, now keep in mind, I'm not talking here from somebody who doesn't have a clue what Mike's going through. I lost my mom at 12. I'm speaking from that point of view as well, and I went through an awful lot to deal with that. But at this point, I think this is an amazing case, because time is nothing to them. It's not like it is to us. So I could go and, like, say I go on an investigation or whatever, I'm on a case, and I go in there and I'm talking to somebody who's been gone 150 years. It's like yesterday to them, And to us, we're thinking, oh gosh, how long ago? So you wonder, why would it take so much time for her to raise that vibration and that frequency up for you to be able to hear her when she's projecting?
Let everybody know, she died in 1988. I was
right.
I was 13 years old.
Yeah, you were just
when she passed. I was 13. I wasn't 14 yet. She died in November. I was 13.
Right.
So,
right.
But the thing is that I have been, and I'll be honest with you, and I don't know how everybody else feels about the house they grow up. And it probably has something to do with, this is where I lived as a kid with my mother and my family, and my mother died. I was living with my stepfather. We had no idea where my real father was. I've since met him, since I turned 18 and he didn't need to pay child support, he reached out, of course, to find
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But at 13 years old, I lost my mother, and my stepdad was like, "Well, your mom's dead. Like, I don't know where you're gonna live.
Right.
I don't know what's gonna happen to you." And then here they come and they take me and they put me in foster homes and group homes, whatever. So this house was the last place that I had a real family, a
Yep.
real childhood, a real life. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so in a sense, I am drawn there every time every time I'm up there. I have to drive by it. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'll pull down the driveway and I'll chat with the guy that owns the place a little bit. He knows me well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've been there. I've talked to dude. I am haunted by this house. This house
Mm-hmm.
haunts me,
It's not
and
finished with you.
that it's in my dreams all the time recently, and all of a sudden I'm hearing my mother calling me.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of freaking me out a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because maybe, and I've always thought that if I ever die, I want to go to this house. I want to haunt this house. I want to live in this house. I want to make enough money in my life to be able to go and buy this house so I can live this house. This is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is it would be, if it's almost, I guess it's almost an obsession with me,
Yes. Yes.
this house.
That's what I'm saying.
And so
I called it, and you never mentioned it to me before this. I mean, a couple times you mentioned, we talked about, the house and the family and the times and everything else, but that's exactly what I got when you were speaking to me, because I was reading your energy when you were saying it, and that's why I said you're the one. So mainly what we got to worry about is she okay? As far as I know, at this moment, she's fine. She's working through all the stuff. This is something that I've come to understand, and this is important for the story. When a lot of people get hung up on, religion and this and that, and it has absolutely nothing to do with religion. Please, people, stop putting yourself in boxes. It's basically your spiritual, your faith. Like I said in the beginning, it's your divine spark. I don't care what you call source. Native Americans, we call it grandfather. We call it great spirit. Some people call it Allah. Some people call it, God. Some people call it so many things. It doesn't matter what you call source. Source stays the same. It's light. It's everything that life came from, and we're all a part of it. That's why we keep saying we're all connected. It's really true. It's like Avatar. Everything's connected. The plants, the earth, us, air, all the elements. It's all energy. And once you realize that it's an energy game and it's frequency and vibration, things that vibrate on a lower level, the lowest of low, is the absence of all good things. And that's the truth. So if you think of the light, the source, as being the ultimate energy, unconditional love, light, all of the good high vibrational things, and then you start adding weight to that, and you start adding, like, think of Marley in A Christmas Carol, with all the chains and weights that he forged in life. That's also feelings like regret, jealousy, hatred, anger. All those things are very low. So when you pass and you, in your mind, you're not thinking about love and light and, all higher things, then your frequency is a little lower. You're vibrating lower. So you go out fear, or if, say, you're really drunk and you have an accident, it could take you a little longer to get orientated. And that's basically it. So think of it that way. Orientation. You're crossing over. Say you pass, and immediately you get that, everything we've seen in the movies. You get the tunnel, you get, all that kind of stuff, and you get over there. Everybody says, well, I don't want to be judged. Everything I'm hearing for those that have crossed over and come over to communicate what the dead are dying to tell us is, we don't get judged. We judge ourselves. So imagine having to see everything you did and the effect it had not only on you but other people, and those people that they affected because you were the pebble that dropped into the lake, and you caused the ripples. So you have to amend for that stuff. You have to see what your choices caused. So if somebody passes, especially a mom, that under whatever conditions, and there were multiple different conditions on your mom's passing, I wouldn't call it a suicide. She doesn't. So I'm going to go ahead and say that she at least went out in a scrambled state.
Yeah, no, and I think it's fair to say that what actually happened, and I'll go ahead and tell everybody, because I'm talking to you, you're my aunt, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with you. I also feel comfortable with my listeners and these people that have been listening to me for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
That I can say that what happened is that my mother OD'd. All right, so I have an older sister. She's 3 years older than me. And my stepfather was accused of sexually molesting my older sister, who was 13 at the time, or from 13 to 16 or whatever her age was,
Yeah.
at the time.
Yep.
And when my mother found out about it, she was absolutely, she couldn't believe it. So she took she was depressed. They put her on antidepressants and everything else. And this is in 1988.
They gave her so much shit, man.
They were experimenting with stuff. So she took a whole bunch of, whatever it was they were prescribing her, and she walked into the A&P in Sussex, New Jersey, and said, "I just OD'd," and she collapsed on the floor of the A&P, and she was taken to the hospital. And what they did, she didn't actually take anything that would have caused her to OD. What happened is that they took her into the hospital, they pumped her stomach, and then they kind of like, oh, okay, she's fine. They whatever. They had a tube down the throat for pumping your stomach or whatever, and they kind of left the room and went and did other things, because this is how crappy this hospital was.
Right.
That what she did was she wound up vomiting with the tubes in her throat, and nobody was there, and all of the vomit went into her lungs. It caused pneumonia, and she actually died of pneumonia like 2 weeks later.
Right.
This isn't something that happened like overnight. Like,
right.
She did do this. She wrote a note. She did what she had to do, and then she obviously was looking for attention or whatever it was. She wasn't, really trying to kill herself. And even when she woke up in the hospital, she was awake in the hospital for a while before her lungs collapsed. And she was like, I don't remember anything that happened. I didn't do this.
Right.
And,
that's exactly what she said to me. When she came to me, she said, "I didn't do this." I said, "Honey, I know." And it's just the timing of it was just so, I mean, if you're asking me what to do with this house, man, I'd burn it to the ground. I mean, it shouldn't be there in the first place. Nobody should be on that soil. It's what I call sour soil. So, the people that don't deserve it are going to get that's what happens in places like this. It doesn't have to be a house. It could be a building. It could be a piece of land. But there's something on it that just is so hungry. And it feeds on anything low vibrational is going to feed on low vibrational feelings like depression, anger, fear, all of that stuff. And it's like a buffet for them. The same thing happened to me at the house in Jackson. The same exact thing. And it's happens all over the place. So, I guess what you can take away from this is one, what I was saying is if you're going out on that kind of vibration, and she was obviously scared. She was alone. There was so much going on in that house. And, the fact that, nothing was done to fix this. I mean, if I had been here, Mike, none of this would happen. He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be here anymore. He wouldn't be here anymore. Well, that's why they didn't call me, because they knew I would have gone in there and just absolutely obliterated the son of a bitch. And that's just, but I mean, I was told that point blank by your aunt and uncle. I said they didn't tell me what was going on because they knew I would be here in 5 minutes, and I would have just, and you guys would have come with me. But they didn't tell me any of this was going on, and I was gone. I was in, all over the place. But that's the thing. The important part is everybody's saying it's very sad, and it is very sad. Mike comes by. Mike's a very smart dude, but he didn't come by. He came by organically and honestly in the hard way, and a lot of us did, and a lot of you in the chat are the same way, because life experiences teaches you things if you're paying attention. And you want to learn from the things that happen. And go, man, I don't want that to happen to me. What could have been different here? Sometimes your dream house turns out to be a nightmare. And if there's a lot of stuff going on in the house, once you're out of that, you can look back and go, wow, how much of that was us and how much of that was where we were? If that makes any sense. Here's the son of a bitch.
And I'm going to throw it up there because I can do this. This is Jeffrey Sperling. He was my stepfather. He is a registered sex offender for what he did to my older sister. And here it is right here. He's been released from, he was in jail for 20-something years. And he's out now, and he's registered. There he is. And I'm not afraid to show it. There it is. And if anybody comes across this guy out on the street, you should run, because he's on. And he's an absolute liar, and he's an absolute horrible person. So,
and you wonder why people like this got to be in our lives. I mean, my dad wasn't much better, I mean, it's just, you wonder. It's almost like a spinning of a wheel and a thing that keeps repeating. Where they say break the circle, break the cycle. And that's kind of what we got to do in this time. So what you and I have done is we're reaching out to, everybody else and trying to share a little bit of some hard-earned thoughts and experiences with people. So maybe if anything happens in your life, you can see it coming. Or if you have a friend or a family member that's going through stuff, maybe edge a little bit more towards, I'm not buying the whole thing that everything is okay. I have a feeling something's going on, because we are we're not our brother's keeper, but we're definitely our brother's brother. You know what I mean? We should be helping each other through stuff like this. That stuff should have never happened. Not with, people around that are supposed to care. And I hate the fact that I wasn't here. And but then again, sometimes things are supposed to happen for whatever reason. If you believe in that whole soul contract thing.
Oh, I lost you. You there?
Everything else, when I started hearing about the soul contract, I think that really helped me an awful lot with crap that happens in this life. This is a lot of mediums and psychics and people that are a lot wiser than I will ever be have told me in multiple occasions that, I do believe in reincarnation. It's not such an odd concept if you think about soul. Does it really make sense that we'd have one shot to come here and get it right? And what's getting it right? What's getting it right? Who's judging that? If we're judging ourselves, then we're probably judging whether we're getting it right or not. And I think that once we get back over there, what you would consider home, back to source, whatever that may be for you, it doesn't matter, again, what you call it, it's energy. So, I mean, I can call water dirt all day long. It's still going to be water. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just energy. So, what I was saying about your mom was I honestly, and I have run it through several other people, that I honestly believe that she's just, at this point in time, reached a vibration where you can hear her again. Think about it like a dog whistle. Everybody's seen that, right? And you blow the whistle and you can't hear it, but the dogs can hear it. Different frequency. That's where I think we are. So to me, it is like the best news in the world that you can now hear her. And I would just concentrate on that, because all this stuff, it happened. And, it's like I look at my life. It happened. What can I learn from it? How can I use this to help other people? Because it doesn't help anybody if you just brush it under a rug, right? So what can we learn from this, and what can we do now to make it better for you and her? So right now we're going to concentrate on you and her. And what I would do is I would start the experiments like I told you before, like I did with my dad, and just send her happy thoughts and energy. I love you, Mom. Yeah. You come here to me, because she can go wherever she wants to go. So you get her to that happy place, you and what you've surrounded with, your lovely wife, your home, your happiness, the stuff that you've done to pull yourself out of, because you could have stayed in a deep dark hole, and you didn't do that.
No,
You clawed your way out.
Yeah, there's actually been people that have wanted to do studies on me to figure out how I was able to come from such a situation and not be a criminal or not be
Right.
in jail or not
Yep.
be uh, in such
Me
a
too.
situation. And to be honest with you, I've turned them all down because
Good.
honestly, like I never wanted to discuss the situation.
Right.
And this, and all you guys are witnessing this is kind of my coming out party. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am not afraid to talk about
Mm-hmm.
these things that happened to me as a child anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, there is nothing I would want more than to be able to make enough money in life to where I could go and buy this house from the people
And
that live there
burn
now.
it to the damn ground.
No, I'd want to live there because I feel like that
Yeah.
was the happiest time of my life.
Yeah, but you can't, like they say all the time, it's like you can't go back, because even though it was the happiest time, it was also the saddest time. And that's something, what I think you've done now, and you got to do what's right for you. You do whatever you feel is right. This is just me, spitballing here. What I would do is just keep doing what you're doing, because like I said, you found a way out of that hole. You know that old story about the guy who falls in a hole, and all these people keep walking by and he can't get out of the hole, man. He keeps trying and nothing's working. He can't climb, he can't get a grip, he can't get a foothold, and all these people, they're slinging bacon. Hi Zarok, how you doing? My gatekeepers eat a lot of bacon, so if you see a lot of bacon in here, that's just bacon is love to us, so feel free to partake in the bacon.
The mother of Wu?
Say again?
The mother of Wu?
The mother of Wu. Yes, that would be me. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So
That's a good thing.
I do have to ask you this because it's been absolutely driving me nuts.
Sure.
I've been thinking that my mother is trapped, her spirit and her soul is trapped in this house, and I need to somehow find a way there, be able to get the owner that lives there now, or whether I can myself or not, get permission to go in there and remove this photo that I put in there. I know it's still there. There's no way it's not still there.
Yeah, but you're thinking that she's trapped in the house because you put the picture there. And I'm saying that the complete opposite. I'm thinking a part of you is there. And I think you can break that. You can break that by focusing on the next thing. Yeah, but you can just look at it like it's a book, and that's a chapter. And, you can go back and visit the chapter if you want, but there's so much more stuff ahead in the other chapters. And in some ways, Mike, I think that you need to do that. You need to find a way. So, maybe you have to do something physical, like, in your dream, have a lucid dream, like work your way up to the point where you get that picture and you walk out and you tear it up, or, do whatever you feel personally is a way to finish that chapter, and like I said, and just go to the next chapter. Because the thing is this: everything that happened that was not good from that point on, that's the starting point. That's like your, almost square one for you in this whole episode. I understand you wanting to go back because, this was where you had happy memories. And I think in some ways we go back and then we find out in some ways that it doesn't fill that hole. It doesn't ever, like when you go back to town and it looks similar, but it's not quite the same. And you find out, that it's not exactly like you remembered. And at that point, in some ways, I think that's what they mean. Like you can't go home again. It's like it's not going to feel the same. So what I would do is I would glean all the happiness that you possibly can from that. Get rid of all the not so much forget the bad, but just put it behind the good. And then keep moving into the good, because that's what your mom needs now too. Because right now you're concentrating. If you want to help her, the way to help her is to send her happy thoughts and good energy. And that's going to give her good energy because she's crossed over. So they live on good high vibrational things, love, laughter, music, singing, all that kind of stuff. That's why I told you some of her favorite songs is play a song for her,
Yeah.
and laugh and say out loud, remember that time we went to the grocery store and you bought me the little blue car and I was so excited. I can't believe I got so excited about that little blue car, whatever it may be, because that's laughter and that's healing. And you're healing yourself and you're healing her. And I did that with my dad, and it took about 2 years after everything he was going through. He was a bastard, and he had, for somebody like me to spend that much time trying to help somebody that I hadn't seen since I was 3, that caused so much damage, in so many lives. I was going on the theory that if we are in a soul group and we were over on the other side, wherever that may be, and we decided as a soul group, I'm going to go try this time, and we'll see how we do that. And you're going to do this, and and you're going to forgive me ahead of time because I'm going to be a real bastard, and I'm going to really do some stuff, and I'm really excited because we have the answers there. We have the consciousness of all the lives we've lived, and gosh, I can go back and I can get it better. Just give me another shot. I can do this better. I'm going to go in again because I want to be up on a higher vibrational level. And I think that's what they mean, that this is almost like school. You know what I mean? It's really, we make it more difficult and more complicated than I think it is. I think it's really simple because it makes sense. Of course we volunteer to come back and go again if we can go back on a higher level, but it's also free will, because there's many people over there go, I'm not going back. I'm done. I'm good. I'll vibrate right here. Y'all go, I'll cheer you on, and I'll see you when you get back. I can see all that kind of stuff going on. So in my mind, with my dad, now I say to him, listen, I know you did a lot of things, but you were really good at it. If we agreed that you were going to come back and be a real son of a bitch, boy, you did a good job. Thanks, because I got strong. I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. I went out and I did all these things because you were that way to me, and we kind of chilled on it. And now he's able to talk. When he comes through mediums, he's able to, because when he first appeared, he couldn't even lift his head. He was so just worn out energy wise and so humiliated by the things he had done. He couldn't even lift his head to speak, the medium said. And I had more than one medium say that. So I worked on him. 2 years later, I go through and I'm talking to somebody, and, it was completely unplanned. And I'm sitting there and she says, well, your mother's here. Great, let's talk, Back and forth. We had a conversation. And she said, somebody else is here. And I said, okay. And she just starts describing him. And boy, she was so young there. She was like 18. There she was 16. And so all this stuff is going on. And she says, but now he's in a uniform. He's in I guess, army dress greens. And he's standing up. And I said, describe how he's standing. I said, does he have his head up? She says, yes. And he said, because of you, he's able to speak now. And he told me a couple of things. So I can tell you from experience that sending even someone like that good, happy thoughts and energy and, good memories and things like that and love gives them the strength to move forward, to vibrate at a higher vibration. And I think now she's at the point where she can communicate with you, and I would absolutely cherish that, and I would try to give her as much good energy as you possibly can. I know I am, and I think that that's going to help both of you, because we learned what we could, from this place, and I assure you she's not I assure you she's not stuck there, babe. She's not.
Does that picture ring a bell?
Yeah, it certainly does.
That's you and my mother there.
Basic training. That's the day I graduated basic training. That was a borrowed wedding dress. I got dressed in a bathroom of a bar, got married, took it off, put my uniform back on, and started to drink beer. But yeah, that was a trip. But that's how I say it. For the listeners, I don't know if you guys have any questions about that, but it just means so much. If there's one thing I've learned about this subject in that amount of time. Like I said, 5 decades, more actually. Just trying to understand how all this works. Like, basically, you know, you start out as like, first, are there ghosts? What am I seeing? Who am I talking to? And then you find out it is, and then you go, well, I don't want to be one. What makes you wind up being a ghost? I don't want to be a ghost. Who the hell wants to rattle around for 500 years? And believe me, there's not that many ghosts having a good time out there. There's a few. Jumpers are, usually ghosts that have a good time. They're the ones that hang out at bars and start bar fights and jump into drunks and stuff like that. And, it happens. But most of them are just, as you said in the title, trapped in their own kind of self-built cage, if that makes sense, And it's all perception and what they see and what they feel is around them. Good example, the movie What Dreams May Come. Robin Williams' character has to go in and talk to his wife, who is stuck almost like in a purgatory and in between. And she's stuck there because she's so depressed about losing her daughter. I believe the daughter died at 3 or something along those lines. And she's just blaming herself. And she's so dark and dismal that she's pictured herself all in black in this like garden thing with all these black vines and everything. And he basically goes in there and just speaking to her and try to coax her back out of the darkness and into the light, and he's doing it with love, and he's reminding her what love feels like, and he's reminding her of how it feels to be loved. And you can see the vines starting to pull away and her color coming back to her. And this is what happens with ghosts when you're talking to them. Like when I've gone on the battlefield to Gettysburg or Fredericksburg, and I've talked to these soldiers who have been past for 150 years. And when they went out, they died in the midst of a battle. Most of them close hand-to-hand combat in a fog where you can't even face-to-face hardly tell who you're fighting. And this is when they went out. And it took the most amount of time to communicate with them, to try to get them to understand and remember what love even felt like. A lot of these guys were orphans. I had this one I spent the most time on, and he was, it's actually in the book, and it says, who could love me? And this is what he's saying, look at me, who could love me? And I'm like trying to envision what he's seeing. Is he looking down at his hands covered in blood from somebody he just killed, and he's thinking, I'm a horrible person. I was a soldier, I was in a war, I killed so many. What is he thinking? So you have to get into their mind. What are you thinking? It's like therapy. And can you imagine trying to convince somebody like that what love feels like when they haven't felt it in so long, maybe never felt it? I had to go through his life and find that at one point in time he had a dog whom he loved dearly. And the minute he remembered that dog, the minute he remembered the kinship he had with this dog and his friend, he was lightening up. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, let me ask you this. So basically, what I'm experiencing, and maybe other people experience with their childhood homes or something, am I setting myself up to be trapped in the house myself when I pass?
It's a good question, man. Like I said, the first time we talked about this, I said, I'm going to help you do something about this because that's not going to happen. I mean, yes, I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, it could.
Yeah, I mean, be honest with me.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, it could happen.
Because I've been thinking about this because I mean, and that might not be good, right? I mean, we all think that that's kind of cool, right? To be a ghost or to haunt a house.
It's not.
I mean, it's not, is it?
No, it's not. I had to tell another guy at a bar. Donnie was asking a question here. It says, has the current owner experienced anything in the house? Do you know?
I answered. I said I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't either. And that's not necessarily a marker either, because I just did a story, Donnie, the episode you and I did on the Earl Flynn house. there was a horrible amount of things that happened when Tracy Nelson and her brothers or twin brothers, like Gunther and somebody else, or Gunner and some, I can't remember the twins' names, but Ricky Nelson's kids. And they moved in the house in 1980 after another family had lived there for 20 years after, or almost 20 years after Earl Flynn. A lot of stuff happened in the house with Earl Flynn, lots of parties, lots of, really debauchery kind of, stuff. And probably it was probably some black magic going down. I can't say for sure. He was for sure a Nazi sympathizer. I mean, we undug a lot of stuff where he really did some stuff on purpose. Some people were saying that it was just guilt by association. No, he was in it. And there's documents that are coming out now that says he's done plenty of reconnaissance and things. And the information that he got actually got people killed. So you can dig into that if you want. But the whole point of this story is that another family full of love, lots of kids, very family orientated, always had people over, lots of animals on the farm, lots of laughter, no problems for 18-20 years. And then the Nelsons move in, who Ricky Nelson at the time was going through, she didn't really lean on it, Tracy telling the story a lot, but they were showing a lot of pictures of him doing a lot of coke and a lot of drinking and a lot of partying, and coming at the end of his career, probably a lot of depression involved there. And that house ate him alive. And lots and lots of experiences and doors slamming and other phenomena and stuff going on in the house. So there's a perfect example of it depends on who goes in the house. If the energy is feeding on energy, same thing. I don't know that the family before us in the farmhouse had any problems, but it was off the chain when we were there.
I mean, if you look at this house, it might not be haunted yet because I'm still alive.
Oh, shut up. Sure. You make me walk into that house to get you out of there after you're dead, I'm going to kill you.
I mean, look at it. It sure is shaping up to be a pretty scary looking haunted house later on in the future. I mean, look at it. Right?
Yeah, it's shaping up there.
It's
Man, I'm telling you, I got nothing but bad energy coming off of that thing. Take that picture down. I mean, I'm telling you, there's never been good energy in that house for me. And I don't know whether I was getting, like premonitions of things to come, or, I haven't been there since, so I couldn't tell you what I felt now other than looking at it. But, there's history there, so it's hard to say. But, I can't say. But all I can tell you is my advice to you is to put that in a chapter and continue writing the rest of the book, and just go back and visit that situation and happy memories. Try to do that for a while. I know it's hard, but
maybe I need to get the picture out to put myself at peace.
Maybe.
Right.
I mean, I'm still questioning on that one. I'll ask some remote viewers and people like that if you want what their information is on that, and I'll get you with some good people that can take it from, because I have emotional attachment to it, and I'm not the best person to ask because, we're just not supposed to do that, because we do have emotional attachment, and I'm trying to stand back as far as I can from it and just answer it with a non-emotional answer. But you can't help that that's in there because this is a spiritual subject. So it's definitely emotion is in there no matter how you look at it, All
right, Ian myself says, if Sysco has to come get you after you are dead, it's going on the podcast.
Yes, it is.
If it would be going on her channel, so make sure you're subscribed to her channel.
We would be doing it live, absolutely. Live with the dead tonight. It wouldn't be the first time.
On radio. Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time, but yeah, that's like the number one thing I would take out of this, though. I do think that you have a connection there. I think that's something you need to visit, as far as not the house, but the fact that you're drawn there. But that's not an unnatural thing, and I'm no therapist, and I'm certainly not a psychologist of any kind. But I would say that a piece of you is still there, but a large piece of you is not, and I would concentrate on that large piece, because it sounds like your mom is also trying to count. She's not calling you from the house saying, come here. She's meeting you where you are and trying to be a part of your world now. And that's what I would concentrate on.
Yeah, and I'm all the way down here in Huntsville, Alabama now.
Right.
I'm 1,000+ miles from that house.
The distance means nothing to them.
Yeah.
So, wherever you are, that's her home, because that's where her love is. And that's how you need to think of it. You're her new house.
All
She
right.
doesn't need anything, else.
Well, let's take a second to tell everybody. I, you know, I certainly hope you enjoyed my personal show tonight. It's been
Mm-hmm.
a little personal to me, and thank you, Aunt Cisco, for spending this time. I mean, this is the third time we've had you on the show, but it's the first time where we've actually said you're my aunt
Mm-hmm.
and my sister, and we decided I actually wanted to get you on. I actually wanted to do a little bit uh, darker a show than this. I hope I didn't surprise you with anything I put
No.
you tonight. Um, I kind of think you had the idea that where we were going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess give a thumbs up if you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Also, check out my aunt's podcast. The link is in the description below. Go check out her stuff. She does amazing stuff. It's really awesome. And let me I guess I'm going to open the floor up for questions. It's question time. If anybody has a question, now is the time to ask your normal questions, I guess, of the host and of me, I suppose, if you have any questions. But let me ask you this, Cisco. What is cool breeze, and how does it fit into
Oh,
what we've talked about tonight?
cool breeze. Well, when you told me the subject tonight, you like you said, I'm fine with all of that. I just think that I hope my influence on you tonight was, my main concern is your well-being and my sister's well-being. Because just because they're past, we don't stop thinking about them as living beings. I know that sounds so funny, but you just think about it different, when you start to understand this.
Yeah,
And I know the best for you and her is, I'd really like to concentrate on getting to the point where she can actually come to you and you can help heal her. Because by helping to heal her and her energy, you're healing yourself. And that is like one of the best parts of this paranormal supernatural subject, is when you start to really focus on the miracle of the whole thing, right? So when we're talking about trapped spirits, I had mentioned, my gatekeepers and stuff know that I always point out the Abbott and Costello movie, The Time of Their Lives. They were stuck on the property because somebody cursed them, and they had to prove that they weren't who they said they were. They weren't traitors to get off the property. They actually were stuck there. That can happen. It can also happen, like I said, curses. But most of the time, we curse ourselves. And I think that that's what gets us trapped, like I was describing in What Dreams May Come. She cursed herself with depression and blame and so many things. And that's, that kind of lesson right there, it goes out to everybody. Say, handle the stuff now. That person you're not talking to, write them a letter, give them a call, send them a text, finish it. All the stuff that you can let go that really drags you down, let it go, man. Let it go. Just think about it like Marley and those chains. Break that chain and throw it across the room. You don't need it. Anything that's holding you down, like, get it off. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to suffer as much as we are here to learn. But we also learn by suffering. So it's kind of like a catch-22. You're not going to get out of that, because to have the human experience, that's part of the human experience. But laughter and love and so many other things are as well. And sometimes we get caught up in the lower things. Well, Cool Breeze was a guy who got caught up in the lower things. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't know who Cool Breeze is. I called him that because he was telling me that that's what he wanted to be called. Now, the whole thing started with my friend Steve Stockton, who does my Monday Madness with me at 8 o'clock Eastern on Monday nights. Steve Stockton is a fantastic storyteller. He's somebody who likes to keep history alive and writes all kinds of wonderful stories about the weird and wonderful that he's heard all his life, and he's a wonderful friend of mine. And he's also has an amazing amount of abilities. One of those abilities is prophetic dreaming. And he will have a dream that usually, some kind of doom is coming, an accident, construction accident or something like that. It'll be so real. And he just doesn't know where it's going to be. He can't stop it. It tells him what's happening, but he can't stop the suffering. He can't stop the people being hurt, and he goes just. It's a horrible thing to have if you. It's like that thing where it's like, why do I have this gift if I can't do any good with it? So here lately in the past several years, I think his ability has changed to the point of now he's actually able to help some things. Because one of these dreams, he saw a motorcycle. Picture, if you will, an old, like, abandoned ghost town, like an old brick foundation with maybe just the fireplace, part of the fireplace sticking up, all the bricks falling and breaking, weeds everywhere, lots of dirt and dirt banks and rock quarries and things like this. This is what he's seeing. That was the first dream he's walking through. The next dream, he sees a motorcycle poking out of the dirt, an orange and white motorcycle. You can see the tank, and you can see a handlebar, and you can see a part of a tire. A couple nights later, he has another dream. Now the motorcycle, is a little more deeper in, and he can see a little bit more. Well, in the third dream, he hears a voice, and he looks, and there's this like pine tree, like an old cedar pine tree with the boughs are real low to the ground. Mm-hmm. You can see feet. Like if he looks underneath, he can see boots, like the soles of boots. Several dreams like this. He wakes up. The next one, he can see a little bit more. The next one, he can go under the bough and see that it's a man leaning up against a tree. He's got old biker leathers on, a leather vest. He's got the old red faded bandana, the whole ball of wax, right? Except that he's completely skeleton with a little bit of skin and hair still attached, but mostly skeleton. And of course all the leather and stuff was still there in the clothes, but tattered and torn. Mm-hmm. And he wakes up. Well, the next one, the thing starts talking to him, and eventually, so he's had about 8-9 dreams at this point in time. This is like about 2 weeks going, and now the guy he won't look at him. He's standing out from underneath the tree now, complete skeleton again. And he said it was very much like American Werewolf in London. Like each time he saw him was a little bit more decomposed, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm running out of time. That's how he took it. So basically, Steve calls me about the fourth dream, and these are the kind of calls I get from Steve at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And he says, Sysco, I think I know where her body is. And I'm like, dude, what do you need from me? It's like, yeah. He's that kind of friend. I'm like, are you responsible for the body? I mean, does it, it's yeah. Like the conversations, right? And he starts explaining to me, and I'm listening. So I'm helping him out, and we're looking on, he's like, I got to find this guy. I'm like, okay. So we start looking for the motorcycle. We start looking for missing motorcycles. We start trying to find stuff on Google Earth that matches the landscape. I mean, we're going nuts for days looking at stuff. And I said, look, man, I can't do it tomorrow. I got to go to a psychic fair. I'm selling jewelry because I'm a wire sculptor. And I had a booth there. And I said, I'll be back on it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be back on it. I'll see you about 4 o'clock. He said, okay. So I go to the psychic fair, and of course, psychic fair, all my friends are there. All my friends are mediums and psychics and, Reiki healers and stuff. So I'm sitting there, and my friend's at her table, and she goes, come here. And I went and sat at the chair. She goes, come on, let me give you a reading. She goes, whoa, wait a minute. She goes, hang on, you're here for something else. What do you got going on? And she just looks at me quiet. I don't say a word, because if my friends know me, I'm just, what do you see? And she says, oh my gosh. And I said, yep. And I got Steve's permission that if I was to see any of my friends that day, you have to give permission for people to read your energy. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. And I said, well, it's a friend of mine. He's given me permission to, if you want to read his energy and tell me what's going on. And she goes, hold on. She thinks a minute. She says, quit looking for the motorcycle. It's not about the motorcycle. That's what she said. And I said, okay, what's it about? And she starts telling me about this guy. She says he won't look at me, he won't talk to women. He hates women. I'm like, okay, that's why, she said he went to Steve because he connected with Steve in some type of an energy. He was able to get into his dream, and he came in that way. Tell Steve he's never met him. And I said, okay. And he says he will not cross because he's ashamed to face his mother because of all the things he has done. I said, okay, what do you need me to do? He goes, you got to work on this guy. You know, we got to get a couple people, get the energy, send him, you know what to do. And I'm like, okay. And we started doing that, but he would only talk to Steve. Now he's turning around and facing Steve, and he's getting a little bit more of his facial stuff back, like he's getting energy, which is cool. And I'm over here with about 4 or 5 people in 4 different states, and we're all working on this energy that we've never met. A complete stranger of a ghost. A man who walked, was a 1%er, more than likely in a motorcycle gang of some, God knows what he did. Doesn't matter. He's a human being. We got to get him crossed over, and the rest will handle it, right? So we're working on it and working on it. And one of the really good mediums I was working with and one of the remote viewers said, listen, you know, he's not going to walk. He's not going to walk into it. He's scared to death. This is the first thing he has ever been scared of in his life. And I laughed a little, and I went, yeah, and his death too, right? And I said, that's it. I'm done. Call his mother. And she goes, oh my God, that's going to be bad. I said, I don't care. Call his mother. We're getting his mother. Tell her to come over here and get him, because I'm done playing with this. Steve needs rest. So we all get together. We call his mother. She comes over, and she gets him. And the minute, it's amazing. She gets there. Now, we're all seeing this remotely, you know, and 2 of them are right there with her because they have that ability. I don't. And she walks up and she calls him, much like your mother called you, and used that name, much like your mother did you. And he turned around, and the minute he laid eyes on her, he completely melted. He connected into that love energy. She put out her hand, and he reached out and took it. And when he took it, he became all whole again. And they walked down this like little dirt road away from the bike, and the further they got, they just disappeared and went off. Now, the cool part about that is we told Steve none of this. For 2 days, I said, quit thinking about it. We'll handle it. He calls me the morning after. We did this at night. He calls me the next morning, and he says, man, Sysco, I had a good dream last night. I said, really? He goes, whatever you guys were doing, he goes, I think it might have worked. And I said, why, Steve? What makes you think that? And he said, because last night I had a dream that he was completely whole and walking down the dirt road with a little old lady with a bun on her head and a blue flowered dress. He goes, I think it was his mom. And I said, honey, it was. We called her to come and get him. He's gone.
Huh.
That's cool breeze.
So you might have to do that with me, huh?
No, because I'm not going to let you do it. I'll kick your ass. We're not going to let that happen to you, baby.
Let's get to some of these questions.
Sure.
You're good to say a little bit over, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. David Gosling says, do you think you may have been abused, Mike, and you blocked it out? That happened to me, and I didn't recall for over 40 years. I was physically abused.
Mm-hmm.
I was beaten as a child a lot. I took a lot of whoopings, and I guess that's where we'll leave it at that. I had a different kind of childhood, I guess.
Abuse is abuse.
Yeah. Mary Kay says, how do you clear a house of spirit?
It depends on the house, and it depends on the spirit. It really does. And I know that sounds like a frivolous answer, Mary Kay, but there is no full thing. It depends on the spirit. Basically, me personally, just to define them, I call spirits the ones that have crossed over, and earthbound spirits ghosts, pretty much. But just because I think there is a change there where they cross over, they're more spirit, yeah.
Can you force a spirit to leave a house if they don't want to?
Yes. There's pretty much nothing that you can't beat with the right stuff. And I say that like this because, say Mary's got a house and Mary's got a ghost, okay? What's going on in Mary's house? Is there anything? Because like we've already said, 2 different houses here that, reacted different to different families, at least mine did, and I know the Flynn house did, the Earl Flynn house. And I can probably I could come up with about 5 more off the top of my head. that, like, or Amityville, that's another one. People go in there, we haven't had any problems. Well, it's the people that are in it, see.
Yeah.
So, what's your faith base? What works for you? Because if you're going to, throw a prayer at something to get it out of your house and you don't believe that prayer, you might as well just throw a slipper at it. So you might want to deal with something you believe in. Like a lot of people feel like they could believe in sage, but they don't understand how burning an herb is going to work. Well, it's not going to work if you don't believe that it will. And it also, you have to add your own into it. This is my house. You have to leave. You are not welcome here. You must go. Okay? And you also do it, you could do it with sage and do a very, unspiritual cantation and say, all negative energy must leave, only positive can stay. And you go around your house and you can clear it that way. You can do it with salt, you can do it with black salt, you can do it with salt water and clean everything in your house. Certain things are going to need certain stuff to get rid of it. To get rid of it is one thing, to hold it off is another, because that's a maintenance thing. You can't just sage once and it works forever. One of my famous stories is I had a guy well, they were getting a ghost, and they came in and they did the sage, and the guy calls up and says, well, it didn't work. The ghost is outside the window looking in. Yeah, but he's not in the house. He's out the house. It's like, what are you going to do to get rid of it? So sometimes there's a maintenance thing. You have to figure out what it is, who it is, what it wants, what type of entity it is. Because if it's an elemental or a sprite or, something else, you might have to add a little extra flavor to it for that specific thing. Like if this house was on Native American ground and they're just mad because, if it's a bad energy, it might not have anything to do with Native Americans. It might be the bad energy has kind of lured or, was a beacon for other negative energies to come. It could be from anywhere. It could be with a worker who came in and had something negative attached to it and it just jumped off and stayed there. It could be anything. Everybody thinks, well, nobody died here. It has nothing to do with it. It could have come in with the plumber. It could have come in, jumped on you in the grocery store and stayed. I mean, there's so many different things that can happen. So, what I would say is if you have a house and you have some kind of thing going on where it's not, an off the chain kind of stuff, your kids aren't flying around the living room or something, I would just try something simple like a smudging. Open your windows, start in one corner, get every corner, and just do your own positive mantra.
Yeah, when I'll walk through my place with sage, and I'll start in the very far corner of our place, and I'll get in every little nook and cranny. I'll open up the cabinets, I'll open up the closets, I'll open up the towel, linen closets, whatever, and I'll walk through and I'll make sure I get the sage smell everywhere, and I'll repeat over and over and over again. You must leave this house. You are not welcome here. You must leave this house. You are not welcome here. And I'll do that over and over and over again as I walk through the house with the sage, and I'll get in every nook and cranny that I can in the house.
Right. And that's, like I said, that's a maintenance thing. It's like saying you're only going to wash your hands once and they'll stay clean forever. Yeah. So if you think about it like that, I mean, in Native Americans, we do it all the time. We'll sage, things coming into the house. We do all kinds of things like that. And, that's a good way to do it. Again, it depends on what it is.
We chalk our doors. There's some chalk that my wife has that it's special chalk that's supposed to, like we'll chalk around the edges of the doors. It keeps the things out. I mean, maybe that'll.
You do holy water. You could do anointing oil. You can do vibration. You can play a vibration. Pull up on YouTube. A high vibrational song or something along those lines, and you can do it that way. You do it by grounding yourself, prayer. All kinds of things like that, lift in the vibration. I know people that got rid of a very noisy, mischievous ghost, not evil, not negative, anything like that, but it could not be around laughter because it's not getting fed. It wants to scare you. It finds that if you jump and go like this, it gets energy. So it's going to do it again and again and again and again because it needs the energy. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative ghost or energy. It just means that it found a way. It needs to eat. It needs the energy to do stuff. That's why a lot of times you'll see ghosts will manifest and it'll just be legs or just the torso or just a head. I've had heads flung at me, which is nice. But yeah, I think it's because they can't get enough energy to do the whole thing. And that I think sometimes you'll see like walk through and they'll kind of like materialize fully and then go back out again. It's just they don't have enough energy. There's a great story that a guy staying at a bed and breakfast, obviously an old house that's been redone.
Right. I'm gonna cut you off only because we're running out of time and we got a question to get to.
Sure.
I'm not gonna allow you to get into a whole nother story because I know you. You're my aunt. That'll be 30 minutes later, so I'm gonna stop you there.
It's so true.
No offense. All right, so Donnie Cho says, question: what were some of your experiences with the house as a kid? A lot of freaky experiences, and some that I don't have too much time to get into now. That I do believe the house was haunted by the builder's wife, and I think it's still haunted today. AJK says, question for Sysco: what was your MOS? How long were you in the Army, and where were you stationed at?
4 years, Fort Dix, Redstone Arsenal, and I was truck driver.
All right, there you go. And let's see. Bash has a long question, so I'm actually he's wanting to know if he can call in. I'm going to try to call him now. I told him to stand by. So let's call Bash and see if he answers. Bash. Hey, Bash. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. How you guys going?
Pretty good. You said you wanted to actually talk on the show, so here you go, man. What's going on?
Oh, got my chance. Lucky me.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I usually think about various sorts of stuff at random points in time, but one of the things that, one of the bigger things that I suppose I have seen is even in just our current day-to-day lives, we seem to get involved in patterns. Anything from can be the kind of work we have, the friends or people we meet, relationships, even hobbies. Like I'm sure people can relate to picking up a musical instrument and then 5, 10, however many years later they can pick it up. And I kind of feel like that same thing would happen, or why I feel like there would be no reason why it wouldn't happen when you cross. I kind of feel like that's potentially why we do see ghosts and interactions and things like that and have it with them, because they are in their own loop. It's just we don't know how long it is, just like we are in ours. What do you think?
What do you think, Sysco?
I think at this point anything can be true, and I think a lot of things can be true all at the same time. One of the things I've learned is like it's so hard to put everything into a file and put it in and put it in the file cabinet and file it under that specifically, because so many things cross over. I have no idea. I mean, I'm even looking into the theory of you hear footsteps coming down the stairs. How do we know that's not our past self haunting us? Maybe it's a time slip of something and you're just hearing ourselves coming down the stairs a couple of days ago. We don't know. All this is theory, and at this point I think all theories are on the table. You know what I mean?
It was a maybe.
Yeah, it is. It's like a maybe because, as soon as we think we have something figured out in this subject, something else comes along, changes everything. It's like, the last 5 minutes of a, court TV or something. You think the guy's guilty and then one piece of evidence comes out, blows it all away. And that's, you kind of got to be open to this. So there's no reason to think that your theory wouldn't be true.
I would say, yeah, well, I think the more for me, and I can only relate my own experiences to myself, it's just something that I've seen as a wider thing where I've just been like, that's an interesting thing I heard about, or along those lines, I suppose.
Right, like think about time slips. Like, how do you explain those? Like, to me, it's almost like, the people say the veil is thinning. Okay, is there one veil? Are there portals? Are there dimensions? Is there a parallel universe? I don't know. People smarter than me seem to think so. Tesla came up with what, 12? So, and he wasn't, I don't think he was even close to being done. So, all of that could very well be true. But all I can tell you is what those that have crossed over have come and told us. And it doesn't seem like they can tell us everything. Like, we're not supposed to have the last page of the mystery book, because I guess then it would all be blown out of the water. And I think a lot of us would love to be born with like a manual, and don't do this because it'll hurt, and don't do this because he's going to hurt somebody else, or whatever it may be. But then the mystery is gone. And on my podcast I always say, enjoy the journey. We're all on our own journeys. We all meet along the way, a little bit here, a little bit there. We all see the scenery a little bit different, but we all take our own path. But I think we all wind up pretty much in the same place in the end. Now, how many lifetimes does it take? I don't know. I don't know. It's an incredible mystery, and all we can just say is try to enjoy the journey as much as possible. So many of us have to go through so much pain, but it seems to me the wisest people I know are the ones that survived that and learned from it.
Because I think a lot of it too is isn't the more special you are as far as being intuitive or that sort of thing, the more life will throw at you and try to keep you to suppress those gifts.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and it is a lot of times people that are very depressed, and this is going on to somebody real close to me right now. They're an empath, and they think that they have like all these mood swings and stuff. I'm like, dude, no, you don't. You're an empath. None of these feelings belong to you. You have to learn how to get everybody else's emotions and stuff off of you, so who you are, because they're dragging you down. And he started thinking about that. Yeah, every time I go in the office with that one person, I leave, that's when I start feeling bad. Well, that's an energy vampire. They don't even know it, but they're draining you of your energy, and then you're picking up other people's energy to replace that. Find yourself, and then once you find your base, then you can pretty much start seeing, okay, I'm picking this up from this person. A lot of people in this chat probably have abilities because they're interested in this. They're stimulated by the subject and thinking about it. They're thinkers. They're critical thinkers, and wanderers, and all this excitement about mysteries and true crime and ghosts and stuff. It's all type the same. It keeps us thinking. So I would guess a lot of people in here have abilities.
All right, Vash. Anything else, man? I'm going to let you go. We're hurting for time.
Yeah. If you're really hurting, I suppose we can let it go. I was just actually going to throw out an experiment that people might be interested in doing. It's basically another thing that I've sort of picked up on. When we have a moment that we seem to really remember vividly, or it's quite strong for us, I'm almost of the opinion that moment in the time that you're experiencing it is so vivid and strong only because you keep thinking about it at a later stage. I'm just curious what you guys, maybe talking for another time, but Jessica, what do you think about that? Because I don't know, it's another little thing I've just played around with, and if I actually set a time frame to remember that moment, and then if I reflect when I was in that moment, it feels so much more alive because there's just so much more focus and attention put to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question for next time.
They say too that we have the tendency to remember the good times more vivid, but I don't. And that's supposed to be people that really know what they're talking about, that have studied and have degrees. That's not what I see. I see a lot of people remember the bad more vivid in some ways. I think we have memories of, what mom's apple pie tasted like, or what Christmas smells, it brings you back in memories and things like that. I think that's a different part of our brain. I think that we do remember the bad stuff. And some people, like you said, Mike, they wanted to find out how come you didn't go take a dark road. I think we all have those crossroads, and we choose. And sometimes we choose the wrong one, and some people are smart enough to back up and get on the right one. And, I think that when we have things like that, somebody was asking me the scariest thing. I think all of it was scary. But once you start settling down and realizing what it is, it's like Hans Holzer said, I've never been afraid of ghosts. They're just people in need of help. And if I can help people now, before it happens, to not be a ghost, to not, think it's cool, and, check out, go over and get your hard-earned light, man. Get all the love. See all the animals you've had in other lives, and, go get some of the answers to these questions, And I think that's the best route to go, and just enjoy this journey while we're on it, because we all came here for a reason, whatever that may be. Even if it's just to be a decent human being. The best you.
Enjoy it as much as you can and try not to get stuck in past moments.
Exactly. Learn from it and move on.
Yeah. Bash, I'm going to let you go, man.
Take care, mate.
All right,
have a good one, and thanks for the show. Bye.
All right, so... we're done with that there. Let's see here. Blue Chicken wants to know, conflict, can you help me move some rocks? Blue Chicken, I'd be happy to help you move some rocks, man. I'm not going to be in Australia anytime soon, so we'll move on from there. I'm going to look for some more questions here.
You're in charge of your own rocks, Blue Chicken.
Yeah. I mean, I'll help you, but you're really far away. So... I'm scrolling down, looking for some questions here, and I guess we're all caught up. Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so we're all caught up. Awesome. So, Sysco, what would be, and I guess it seems like the last year or so, I'm coming a long way in putting a lot of this stuff behind me, but I gotta tell you, I really want to get that picture out of there.
I feel you, man.
Stupid as that sounds,
maybe you can call the people at the house and ask them to do it, and tell them to take it out in the backyard and put it on the barbecue grill and burn it, or mail it to you.
I want it.
Mail it to you or something like that to take it out. But I think you need to make your peace with that and concentrate on the new thing. And the new thing is going to be a great experiment in love and light and endurance and the continuation of life and energy. And I think it's such a positive thing. I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be sending her love and energy, and I have all these years, and I'll continue to do so. And I think that that's great for everybody to do that, because it helps both. It helps you and it helps them. And, I just think that's the best thing right there. And if you do have something in your life that's dragging you down, and it's like I said, it's like those chains on Marley, break the chain, figure out, is it anything I can do to change it? No. If it was a bad time, be awesome in spite of it, because those are the warriors. And, it's go out a warrior.
I have visions and dreams that I talk to people I know that have passed over all the time. And my mother is the one that I can't, I'm starting to now hear her voice, but she's the only one that I know that has died. I shouldn't say only one. Obviously I've known people that have died that, everybody knows people that have died. You're not close with all of them.
Well, see, I think that is, again, an affirmation to the fact that you're lifting your vibration.
Yeah.
It took you a long time to get there. Don't let anything bring it back down, is my
Johnny
point.
Joe says, why don't you just show up at their doorstep with a nice bottle of wine and a gift card and explain the situation? Why not? I agree with you. That's something I need to do. But keep in mind, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama now, and this house is in northern New Jersey. So. a bit of a. It's going to take more than just I'm going to put on my shoes and go over there.
But just keep in mind that the picture it's a symbol of something for you, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying minimalizing that at all.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that maybe you can get the picture back by doing something else. Because the important thing about the picture to you is it's your connection to your mom. And you have a real connection to your mom right here, right now, wherever you are. And that's the point.
All right. So to basically sum everything up, what's the best thing I can do to open up those lines of communication between her and I?
Exactly what I said. Send her love and energy before you go to sleep at night. For they usually say it takes about 3 nights, and you can do this with pets as well, pets that have passed over, and it doesn't matter if it's a turtle or a rabbit or a snake or a cat or a dog. It doesn't matter. If you have a love connection with that animal, it has a love connection to you. So I would, every night before you go to sleep, tell your spirit guides that you want assistance, that if she wants to connect to you, to please come to you in a dream. And you do that 3 nights in a row and send good thoughts and energy. Again, the stuff I told you about good memories, laughing. Remember that time we had ice cream? That kind of thing. Because she's going to remember them too. And right now you're doing her a service because you're lifting her up and vice versa. When you go down and you start getting into the dark and deep, remembrance, and you're doing something out of if you do something out of vengeance, revenge, or hate or fear, it's a low vibrational. If you're doing it out of love, it's high vibrational. So you're doing something out of love, it's not going to be wrong. Give it a whirl, and maybe she can come visit you in a dream. If she doesn't, don't think it's because you did something wrong. You have to understand that they have timing too. So I would try that, and I would send good thoughts and energy, lots of love her way, and give her the energy she needs to connect to you. Because I would guarantee very rarely is the real situation and what's going on how we see it. It's usually a whole different vantage point. They have a different vantage point, you have one, you're both emotional. You got to go outside 40,000 foot view and look at the whole thing.
Yeah, and this is the last time I was there. Was probably about 10 years ago. When I wasn't trying to retrieve the picture. So I know that if I get there, I'll have no problem getting it. This is the side of the house here. This is the garage on the right hand side. If you can barely see that, it's a small picture. I apologize. That's the garage where the builder's wife killed herself. I used to have a basketball hoop underneath this light right here, and I switch over. Here's the backyard. This is the doghouse that my childhood dog, used in the backyard. It's actually still there, kind of tossed off to the side, but the actual house is still there. You can see it kind of on the edge there, and the dude hasn't gotten rid of it. Here's some more the trees, the holes that I dug, and here's that rock wall where I piled all of those rocks as a child. And there's the pond I used to fish in. Largemouth bass in that pond. And there's a house there, the columns, and we'll leave it at that. I'll throw this one up here, and that's that. Sysco, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure.
Hopefully, we didn't bore them completely out of their mind with old house stuff.
It's an important show because this is the show where you got it out, you said it, and now it's behind you, and now we go forward, and we're going to start on the experiment of love and light and see what happens. Because like I said, man, if she can come back and make a connection with you, that's big time. That's big time, because she needs that. She needs it just as much as you do, and that's really cool. And let her say what she wants to say, because it's probably very hard for her to get that out. People often ask about ghosts, why don't they just come out and say what they want to say? I don't know. I don't know, but guarantee it would be that she loves you and that she's sorry she left you, and she needs to get back into that love light, and she's loved here. So,
all right.
So Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, we run a live on YouTube. That's where you're going to find us, live on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and Monday night, same time. And the book is We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife. That's basically some of my experiences, from childhood on through to now. And it's not all of them, but it's a lot of them. And I kind of take you through a journey of my life. And And like I said, enjoy the journey, guys.
Yeah, and everybody get over and subscribe to my aunt's channel, and the link is down in the description box below. Just go hang on for a minute. Let me go ahead and take us out. Just so everybody, I'm just going to throw this out there. This is a picture of my mother. If you all can maybe send her some positive thoughts and things. Her name is Ronna Lee Murdoch. If maybe you can, everybody can maybe send out some good vibes and good love, and let's try to give her the strength to come through to me if you can. That would be great.
That'd be awesome.
And yeah, I will try doing that at night, and we'll see how that goes. Keep in mind, this is Conflict Radio. You can always find us online. Just go to www.conflictradio.net. You can find us on Apple, iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, all of your normal podcast catchers. We'll be back on today, Thursday. Today's Thursday. We'll be back on Monday, everybody. Thanks so much for coming in. Obviously, if there's breaking news or something, maybe we'll do kind of what we did last night. We'll do again, where we just kind of go through and see what's going on in the news. Not really a show, but come in and do a chat, see how everybody's hanging out. And that was a lot of fun last night. I guess the video's down because apparently we said some things that we weren't allowed to, and we got in trouble. So the video from last night is no longer.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? In America? Censorship in America?
I don't want to talk about it. Somebody was posting on Twitter that an explosion that had happened back in 2016.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Was a recent event, and I was calling out that it was not a recent event. It was very old, and they said that was misinformation and took the video down. So
yeah.
So
when the truth is turned to misinformation.
It wasn't misinformation. That this is what it was.
Right.
And that was that. So
it's crazy. Everybody be well out there. Happy thoughts and energy to all of you. I'd like to thank all my gatekeepers for coming in here tonight. You know I love you all. Bacon to everybody. And we didn't need any cupcakes tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I thank the new subs. Come on over. We have a good time. And thanks, Conflict, for having me on. I think it was a very important show. May have reached out and helped a couple of other people too. And maybe we'll do another one and see how do an update on this and see what happened after.
All right, yeah. Let's let's see how it goes, and always I'll keep everybody updated on as far as what's going on. So until Monday, everybody, it's getting crazy out there. Batten down the hatches and be safe.
See aircraft that were clear.